Welcome everyone to the L7C podcast, My Hero Academia edition. Today we are reviewing the last three episodes of My Hero Academia season 8 as we are getting closer and closer to the end. Day recording right now, there is only 10 days left of My Hero Academia season 8, the final season. So with that being said, we have the My Hero enthusiast with us, Miss Andrea Alanese. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing well, doing well. Still emotionally recovering from these three episodes. I don't know about you, but I was crying for every single one from the episodes themselves, and the last two in particular. I've been crying at the end of the episode because it's coming to an end. And like you said, for sure, it's we're down to the last two. We got 10 days left, so we have the one this Saturday, and then that's it. 13th,
Yep.
we're done.
On the 13th, it is all over. So let's dive right in.
Hmm.
Last time we spoke, we were literally 30 days, 31 days out from the end. We were reviewing episodes 3 through 6 at that point in time. So now we have 7, 8, 9. And where do you want to begin?
I was gonna go with, from the beginning, starting with episode number 7 from Aizawa.
Hmm.
And I mean, obviously picking up right where we left off, it gives us that flashback or the refresher, I guess, of where are we? We're in Shigaraki's mind. We're at the point where Midoriya and Shimura, I'm forgetting Nana Shimura are observing Shigaraki's memory of his dad, you know, slapping him to the ground, and Shimura's freaking out. Midoriya's trying to intervene, but there's this like physical barrier, like it's not seen, but it's tangible. He can't get through it. And all of this, and Nana goes into kind of like, oh my goodness, he didn't keep that picture for sentimental value because he, loved me. He kept that picture because he couldn't get rid of it because of all the pain that I caused him. And her, realization and connection, to me really illustrated a good point about generational trauma. The fact that, she made a particular decision that caused harm, and her son didn't deal with it appropriately, or, maybe had been dealing with it. And we'll get into that into the next episode. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But yeah, it just really illustrates how, the generation before, 2 generations before, their actions, can still have consequences down the line. And again, she wasn't around to see like how Shigaraki grew up, how her son was a parent. And most, grandparents, or I shouldn't say most grandparents, a lot of great grandparents and some grandparents don't get the opportunity to see that, especially within the same four walls. Because even, grandparents that are involved, if you're not living in the same household, there can be things going on that, nobody's ever going to talk about or bring up because, you know, it's one of those things of, we don't talk about these things. They'll stay in the family, and the family can mean just that, that unit that lives together. So grandparents are on the outside, aunts, uncles are on the outside. It's not until somebody observes something or says something that any light can be shed on it. Yeah, my brain went down the rabbit hole with all of that and going back into our, experiences and as child protective caseworkers. So yeah, just that was heavy. And it, for me, I got all of that in, I mean, I think she only spoke on it or had maybe a line or two about it. And I already started that spiral at the beginning of the episode. Then I think essentially her desire to intervene helped Midoriya break through that barrier, because it seemed like she, materialized into that like little light like all the other users when Midoriya like put them into Shigaraki. So I think her desire to help and stop the same thing from happening in Shigaraki's memories, since they're able to change things, help Midoriya get to him, but even that wasn't enough. So then we get into um Midoriya is now a child talking to Tenko. And I actually wrote down like a lot of different quotes from these episodes that really hit me hard. The first one being Shigaraki's kind of bearing his soul. And he says, "What are my hands for otherwise, if not to destroy?" Talking about his quirk and the fact that, he quote unquote killed his whole family with his hands. If he was given a quirk to destroy things, what else was he supposed to do? Which was really, really sad to hear, especially coming out of like a childlike voice. And obviously him, as I forget what age he was at the time, but he had to have been like what, 5 to 7. Like that's so sad. That's just one of those like self-fulfilling prophecies, I felt like, in the sense of bad things are happening to me. My quirk just manifested and I killed one of the only things, one of in my life that I truly love, and it was a complete accident. Then I'm reaching out for connection because again, I'm a child, and even as adults, we reach out for connection when we're hurt and we're scared. Um, but as we know, if he puts his hands on anybody, and when he did put his hands on his family, they disappeared. To me, the only one he actually quote unquote murdered was his dad, because that was the one where he kind of already knew what was up and he like went at his dad. But that was just really sad because it became a okay, so this is what my quirk is. This is what my hands do. I can't touch anybody anymore. So what else am I supposed to do but destroy things? Which was just really, really sad.
Yeah, so I think it's one of those things where obviously his backstory that we saw a couple seasons ago, and then
Mm-hmm.
now, and then Nana, seeing how much her leaving, inadvertently affected her son, which then obviously affected her grandson. Um, but it's the same thing where, obviously to a lesser extent, like your you have the thing of free will, and yeah, your past experiences do affect some of your stuff, but they don't affect all of your choices. Like we talked about with the Todorokis and all that, sure,
Mm-hmm.
Endeavor was a bad pops that doesn't give you the right to murder people by any means. I
Exactly.
don't
For
care.
sure.
Do
For
not
sure.
care. So yeah, I get it, being abandoned by your grandma. Well, being abandoned by your mom, especially if your mom was like your idol, things like that, because we don't
Mm-hmm.
hear anything about if I
Dad,
remember dad at all, so he's probably dead. So
that or he wasn't in the picture, like period. And we just don't know. And that was I thought about it and then I guess I forgot to say it. But yeah, no, truly that there wasn't any um he didn't cope with it well. And that's kind of our individual responsibilities to take whatever, generational trauma we've been through or that has been passed down and do our best to break those curses. And essentially, obviously, we very well illustrate what happens when you don't. And of course, again, getting a little bit ahead, but taking Shoto as an example, like, yeah, he didn't become a mass murderer, but I think we can also assume if he becomes a parent, when he becomes a parent, whatever it is, if we even get that far. But I think he would not repeat the same the same things that his dad did. However, we know in real life, unfortunately, sometimes that can still happen. It's one of those things where, yes, you're right. Like, definitely free will, how you choose to act, um, and cope with what has in these instances what has happened to you, because they had no control over that. They can only control what they decide to do and how they react to it. I very recently heard that um I cliche quote, I guess, of life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it
Hmm.
fairly recently. And I feel like that, I mean, again, cliches are cliches because they illustrate the point beautifully that people keep repeating them. So, yeah, that encompasses this whole dialogue wonderfully, in my opinion.
Yeah. So they're going through all that. And again, it's not his first time actually seeing what her being away, doing the hero work and all that stuff, and did to her son and all that, and obviously feeling horrific because then you just think about even like when you think about it in the real world, like, oh, I wish I would have
Mm-hmm.
called this person X amount of more times than what I did, or she's
Right.
thinking to herself like, oh, if I would have came home 1 to 2 times more, would I
Mm-hmm.
prevented this? Like if I was just been like, hey, let someone else take this mission or whatnot, I
Mm-hmm.
need to get back to my son. Like those type of things start going through your head when you see those type of actions. And obviously she was able to at least get to apologize in
Right.
this way. But even though that also was happening, the biggest part of this episode to me is that I
Mm-hmm.
just started laying back in my chair and just started having an evil laugh
Uh-huh.
was all for
Oh
one.
my God, I know. Oh my God, as soon as Deku, like, I guess
Broke through. He broke through.
he broke through, he calmed Shigaraki's heart.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden that means, his mentality, his fortitude, I guess, in a sense, kind of shatters. So guess what? All for one's mentality and personality comes back to take over the body, and it's like, son of a bitch.
Yep, he
I
was never,
oh
never gone. And just like I said last, when Bakugo like finished the last remnants, I was like, oh no, 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 there's no way this is over with him. I would also say too that when you talked about quotes, I think
Mhm.
one of the most powerful quotes that Shigaraki said is that he needs to be a hero for the villains.
I also wrote that one down. Yes. The way my notes went is in the exact order of things happening in
Mm,
the episode. I was pausing and writing stuff down because there was just so much that I knew I wanted to talk on. But yeah, that's one of the quotes. A little bit before that, when Deku's still in the process of like trying to save Tenko from his hatred and stuff, was his quote to him saying, "When I was lost, someone took me by the hand and gave me peace," which again is a callback to when Ito reached out his hand when he had his little vigilante moment, but also again the specific of like took me by the hand. We know Shigaraki in part is the way that he is because All for One is the one that took his hand. Nobody else would reach out to him when he was on the street right after everything happened with his family. And I know we're going to get into kind of how that all played out when we get to the next episode, which I was floored. I was dumbfounded. Oh, God. But anyway, we're not there yet.
But since you said the hand thing, as everyone who listens, if you've been listening to the My Hero pods all these years, because you brought the hand thing. So here comes obviously the residential, always connecting to the Demon Slayer.
Uh huh.
You know how two siblings were taken by two different hands.
Mm
One by a Hashira, one by an Upper Moon, and ch changed their lives forever. The same
hmm. Mm hmm.
exact thing.
Right. That they're mirrors of each other in
Mhm.
both instances. It's, Tanjiro and Nezuko are, or, I'm sorry, Daki and Gyutaro are the quote unquote misguided mirrors of Tanjiro and Nezuko, and in the same instance that Shigaraki is the misguided mirror of Deku.
Yep.
And we had already kind of put that together a while back,
Hmm.
but it just becomes that much more apparent. I hadn't thought about the whole, Deku being taken by the hand because he's always wanted to be a hero. He always had that influence,
Hmm.
but I found it very interesting that they tie it back into when, he tried to put everything on his shoulders because he didn't want to, anybody else to get hurt. I'm going to do this alone. How else can all this other stuff? And somebody did come and take him by the hand to redirect him. Again, he was not necessarily on a evil path, but he was lost, just like Shigaraki was lost. He was lost and confused.
Yeah. I mean, and also with the fact that, Shigaraki as a kid looks exactly like Midoriya as a kid, just like Midoriya's mom looks exactly like Shigaraki's grandma. No, same old classic thing. But when All for One showed up, again, I just sat back and when he kept talking, I just started laughing because I was just like, you can't make this up. You
You
can't.
can
And I knew it.
Well,
I knew in
Horikoshi
my
made it up.
heart.
Actually, Horikoshi made it up, and I am pissed that
I
that's
knew.
how it.
I
Oh
knew.
my
I knew.
God.
I knew. I was like, he's not done. And I just started laughing. I was like, oh, he's back. And then then when his music starts going, and then he just
Oh,
takes over. And then, of course, this man plans for, I said it last time. He plans for
you did.
absolutely everything.
You
And he's the one saying, bro, I orchestrated your whole existence.
I
Everything.
orchestrated
Manipulated your
everything. You
dad.
never had a
Nope.
chance. Like you never had a choice.
Nope.
I cannot once that started playing,
Hmm.
I already had the feeling that All for One had gotten involved early and gave Shigaraki the quirk. However, I did not expect it to go back to freaking Inception
Yep.
or Conception,
It was
where he's
concept.
like
Yep.
having a beer with his dad, and you keep seeing all those flashbacks where again he keeps plying him with alcohol. So
Hmm.
he's making him that much more vulnerable. He obviously, as we just mentioned, his mom abandoned him and is now dead. We don't know anything about a dad, so we don't know if he grew up in an orphanage. She left him with relatives. Like what is going on? So he's probably not the most strong-willed person because again, abandonment wounds can make people prone to people pleasing or fawn responses. And he's plying this man with alcohol. And we hear, like, yeah, I just kept, feeding him just a little bit, nudging him here and there to be stricter, harsher. I also helped to plant the idea of you wanting to be a hero in your mind. It's that the whole, oh my God, this honestly, as this was playing out, I don't remember which podcast it was. It's going to be a deep dive for me to try to find it. But I think we were discussing if All Might versus All for One was a better teacher to their respective students way back in the earlier seasons. And I feel like I made a comment at that time that it seemed like All for One really allowed Shigaraki the freedom to make mistakes. But now we know it was all a fucking lie. It was all a trap. It was the entire illusion of choice, of freedom, of, you know, I'm cultivating you to be the best that you are, but it was all underhanded. And oh man, I was
I,
so heated. I was so heated and dumbfounded and pissed. And then, oh my God, Martin, when the when he mentioned that the doctor picked up a quirk from a kid in an orphanage, and we zoom in on the kid, if I would have been watching on my laptop, I would have thrown my laptop because we know that kid
no,
and we fucking know that
it
quirk.
was overhaul.
It
It was
was overhaul. It's
an altered
sugar.
copy of it. Like that's and it makes sense. I just laughed. Again, I was
I
laughing because it's always a plan. I just knew, and then the fact that I didn't know his plan was going to go all the way back to birth, that was kind of crazy. But
right.
but I knew he was coming back. I knew he had a backup. I just knew in my heart that he had that. And the fact that he said that he stole Tenko's original quirk, God, we'll
Yes.
never know what it is because spoilers, they're all dead. And
Mm.
he secretly gave him decay, like which was
Mm-hmm.
altered of overhaul. So
Yep.
I just
To not
laughed.
be able to revert anything. So even the original quirk is not made to just destroy things. The original
Mhm.
quirk, as we saw Overhaul do, is to like break down and then rearrange. You can but they took that ability away to again manipulate the thought process of again going back to his quote, what are my
Yep.
hands for otherwise? And again, it was orchestrated to be that way and help him feed into that thought process, which is so fucking infuriating and sad.
I love it. I haven't seen
Oh,
I haven't seen
that's
a back.
brilliant writing. It is brilliant writing. He is a great villain. I fucking hate him.
Yeah, this was Eisen level planning. This was Madara level planning since the beginning. Like this is, but
Yeah, but this story
conception is
doesn't have a
crazy.
fucking Kaguya coming in at the end. So like
No,
whatever. Anyway.
no. Well, yeah, because then he's probably closer then to Eisen because Eisen basically got Ichigo's inadvertently. He's the one who got Ichigo all of his powers because he had his mom meet his dad inadvertently, and that's how he became a child Jesus of their world. But I just laughed, man, because again, it was just hilarious. Like this man, since the jump, has always had a plan. Always had a plan. And for him to keep going and doing that, he's like, oh yeah, dude, I've been here this whole time. I wasn't. And then once Shigaraki realized everything he has done
Mm-hmm.
was not even by choice, it was all by storybook. He broke down, and then All
Mm-hmm.
for One took over,
Yep.
and then now we're back. He got the body anyway.
He got the body
Like-
anyway. The only thing is that he made a comment immediately about how, the psychological damage to Shigaraki has done like damage to the body, but we couldn't see any damage. Of
Mhm,
course, which comes back, full circle a little bit later. But he also comments that the copy of Decay, because now he's referring to it as a copy, since again, it was a modified copy of Overhaul's perk, that the copy of Decay left along with Shigaraki, and all his anger and hatred is gone. So again, the anger and hatred was dispelled by Midoriya. I do find it a little odd that he wouldn't now have, in place of that, hatred towards All for One for fucking orchestrating his entire fucking sad life. So like I don't know why that anger hatred didn't just like kick back in at that moment,
mhm.
but I guess, for the writing purposes, like he wasn't internally conflicted anymore, and so they're not going to just create that conflict for him out of nowhere. So, yeah.
Yeah, so just absolute bonkers.
Also,
I,
we have to note that fucking Midoriya is missing his arms because he was touching Tenko's hands and his arms were breaking down during their whole conversation. And before his anger and hatred is dispelled, Midoriya's arms disappear from basically halfway from to his bicep and down. So he's got no fucking arms.
mhm. Yeah, he's there. It's down bad when they come back to the real world. All for One is in this big old evil final boss body type deal with all the evil stuff. Midoriya's just laying on the ground with
Fucking pools
no
of blood
arms.
around his arms. Yep. Trying to get up. Oh, that was hard to watch. I don't know about you. I felt that in my gut that was hard to watch. Him trying to like get up because he was laying face down and he's trying to use his arms to get up and he can't. And so he,
But then the My Hero Academia has their Avengers Endgame portal moment to a lot of the anime watcher surprise. Obviously, if you read the manga, you already know this stuff.
yes.
But to the anime watcher surprise, this was very unexpected because literally it is the portal scene, like in
Mm-hmm.
Avengers Endgame, because when Midoriya's hands were down, it was literally like when Captain America's shield broke and he was by himself about to fight Thanos' army before he gets
Yep.
the call from Sam saying, "Hey, on your left." And of
Yep.
course, on Midoriya's left, first he gets saved by the other heroes like who come in, Sero, Sato, and others. But the person obviously right there next to him on his left was Eraserhead. So that was the person on his left who also came back with the piece from Ares' horn to then give him back his arms because it was able to rewind just a tad bit.
Yep.
So he had his arms, and then literally you see the people coming in, bloody, battered,
Battered.
all of that, can't move. Many heroes, 1A students are all coming through. Again, it's Avengers Endgame. It's literally everyone versus their Thanos versus All for One. Now, I am gonna ask though, were you shocked that the person who gave the final speech going in the last speech of that episode, getting everyone like was super serious, was Mineta?
Yes, I was surprised, but I was fucking here for it. I was like, all right, Mineta, because we had already seen him kind of make that stand already.
Hmm.
And so it wasn't like completely out of the blue like the first time, but I'm like, all right, here we go. Yes, you're still on your shit. And I was proud of little buddy for that. Like I'm proud of him. I still
Even
don't
in
like
the
him, but
even in the next episode, he had All for One was literally talking about like he had that look in his eye, like when he was talking about like
mm-hmm,
the several times, like how Mineta was like very locked in and all
mm-hmm,
that jazz. But we are at the Avengers Endgame part of My Hero Academia. I
mm-hmm.
even tried to look up the dates too to be like, so those chapters came out. obviously in 2024,
Uh-huh.
obviously Avengers Endgame came out in 2019, so I'm pretty gonna be confident saying there was heavy influence.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Midoriya's already been heavily influenced by freaking Spider-Man, so
Hmm.
it's no secret that Horikoshi is a Marvel fan.
Yeah. So that was crazy in itself. I was just like, oh my God, I didn't expect this. Um, next chapter. Chapter. That's, I mean,
Before we
oh,
go
good.
on, another one again had me tearing up, crying, talking about, the kid that had kind of, or I guess I should say guy, the guy that kind of pushed against Midoriya rejoining them is one of the first ones to step forward to literally offer the shirt off his back to help somebody, one of the heroes, and all the
Hmm.
other evacuees are coming forward with supplies in their hands as erasers, like calling for anyone who can fight. We have a retired hero come forward, a lesser known hero come forward. Ari again pops up and is like, I want to help. And that's when, she shows her broken horn. And that's when Ari tells us that she wants to sing. And so then when he delivers, the horn and Midoriya rewinds his arms, he tells Midoriya, you can't die because you have to hear Ari sing, which of course pulled on my heartstrings and made me start really, really crying. Because that's always going to be one of my favorite storylines and plot points for the entire show. Just Airy, Aries whole journey.
I feel it. I get it. I get it. And then he talks about the shirt, and then that's when they all, and then when Ed gives the speech, and then that episode's over, and then it goes Izuku Midoriya Rising. That's literally the
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I mean, it's really just real in big concept. It's everyone versus, it's literally the last
It
stand.
is. It's the last stand. Aizawa calls it, or was it? No, it was Mike. I'm sorry. President Mike comes through one of the warp gates and is like, "This is a watershed moment. It's our last big job. Like this is it."
Yeah, so you start off, I mean, All for One's obviously annoyed because, all these people are down in the water weak right now compared,
Mm-hmm.
but shit, it even starts off with Sarah gets no screen time.
No,
Um,
ever. That surprised me. That surprised me when he is having a little bit of an actual conversation with All for One, because All for One makes the comment about how, you know, his obsession is gone and no attack can reach the hole that's left by his loss. And we get a visual of like a literal hole in the center of his chest. And he says, you know what, Midoriya, I get it. It's tragedy that makes one stronger. And Sarah's like, yeah, no, I don't know about that one, fam. And we don't know much about Sarah's backstory. We haven't gotten every single person's backstory, and he was one of them. But he just blatantly says, I haven't had ups and downs like like y'all have. What pushes me forward is not wanting to get left behind. Then he talks about Shoto, like the tragedy that he's been through, and says, it's better if miserable things don't happen, which again, going back to, sends me down the spiral of, yes, people become stronger through adversity, or are they actually stronger? It's more that they've, just forced themselves to survive in any which way. But it is better. You talking about trauma, people that deal with adverse childhood experiences, having to deal with those puts them further back from the starting line than people who don't have to carry those experiences with them forward, don't have to try to grow past them, unlearn, um, what is it, unhealthy coping mechanisms, or get out of survival mode and all of that fun stuff. So I thought that was really cool. And I did not expect that to come from Sero. I honestly thought that would have come from Todoroki, because he'd be like, my backstory is tragic. That's not why I'm strong. And he
yeah.
even in a previous season, I don't remember which, he kind of made a comment about how he felt like all his classmates were ahead of him, because partially because they were focusing on, just getting stronger, school, all these other things, while he's dealing with his family. He's dealing with these feelings that he needs to deal with in order to be able to move forward in a positive way and get stronger. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was unexpected
So
for
while
me, and I loved it.
he's talking, then the Todorokis they blast All for
Mm-hmm.
One. Obviously they get repelled. And
Yep.
everyone's just attacking All for One while Aizawa's still with Midoriya.
Yep.
Midoriya is basically catching him up saying, "Hey, I do not have all these powers anymore. I still have
Nope.
like," and it's funny how we talked about last episode,
Mm-hmm.
how it's like, man, it's been a long time since we've had like full cowling, and that's basically all he has left now. So that
Right.
was hilarious in a sense. But
Right. And the full cowling is coming from those embers. So we know
yep,
it yes, it's full cowling, but like it's not full
right.
cowling. And he's like the embers. And so now we get to see somebody, like we see him crouching over the embers the same
Yep.
way All Might did.
Hmm.
But of course, Midoriya is young, he's still hurt and stuff, but I don't know why I figured all the imagery when it comes to embers, the person would be emaciated. But of course, that's just because All Might was severely hurt from his fight with All for One. But
Yeah. So then
so
it's
yeah,
he's about to start going, but it's funny how you talked about in the last episode. I mean, not last episode. Yeah, literally the last episode of this, not the last episode of the
yeah, yeah.
podcast, but
Mm-hmm.
about hand holding. Because of course,
Mm-hmm.
the first person to extend the hand to make a callback to the previous seasons is the
Mm-hmm.
traitor.
Is
It's
the
the
traitor,
traitor.
and it's literally a callback to yes, last season where Midoriya is begging Aoyama like take hold of my hand so I can help you, and Aoyama's the first one to be like, and that was a quote I wrote down. He says, "We need your strength, and you need ours." And to me, I don't think we're going to get sick of calling back to that case study episode talking about if All Might is really like being the symbol of peace a good thing. Because to me, that again illustrates the fact that yes, people needed All Might's strength, but part of All Might's flaw is he never had to rely on others.
Oh
And so
no,
it,
that case study is the epitome of this episode. The
mm-hmm.
epitome of it.
I
It's
know. And
it's
so,
the
and then again, it's by extension to me, the epitome of the whole show. And I didn't realize it at the time that I did it, which just, I don't know if I should be proud of that or like a little embarrassed. But either way,
I mean, that thing
uh,
was two. I mean, it's almost 2026. That episode was like 2021. So,
I
especially
know.
for anime, I don't even. You would have to even go back and think about where the seasons were at that point in
Right.
time.
Would it be season five? Because it was before was it before the war or
It was
was it
before.
right after we found out about the war
Oh, it
that
was
it was
way
coming?
because that was when you were still. You just left
I
this
had
side of
just,
the country, or you were
yes,
about to leave. Like that's how far it was.
I was already down here in Texas, and I'm pretty sure we recorded it. Was it December or January? I feel like
Well,
it was
hold
definitely
on.
around this time, 4 years ago.
I can even just look it up really, really quick. Um, actually, that was, yeah, it is a little. That episode was published November 17th,
Mm,
2021. So,
look at that. I will forever be hanging my hat on that episode. If y'all haven't heard that episode, I recommend going and watching it. We've been calling back to it all of our recaps because it's just so poignant and
season
relevant.
now that All Might's gone, we have seen in season 4, 5, and the new movie. Because this, we also, spoilers, we talked about the third movie that came out.
Yes, 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 yes,
That's how
yes.
far back this was. But, and then obviously, well, we're going to keep talking about that. But then obviously, when he grabs Ayawa's hand, Yusei Run starts playing for the last time in the series.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously, it is literally Class 1A doing all this cool stuff. But to go back to what you were talking about, because it involves that, because obviously it's inadvertently by any stretch of the
Mm-hmm.
meaning, but All for One literally talks about in a way your episode because he's like now he was going back to when he was talking shit about Midori about being like so weak and all this stuff, and
Right.
he realizes that like like, because he's wondering, it's like, why do these people keep getting up? Like, they're so weak, they're not doing anything.
I was
But
gonna say it's like, why won't they just stay down?
hmm
They're all gray, just like this landscape. They're all like worse for wear. Like, what are they doing?
but I mean, Midoriya's strength is that he's weak. But we have to go
Mm-hmm.
back even further because a couple episodes ago, before all this, Denki said it. He's like, Midoriya is probably the strongest person in the world right now. Why
Mm-hmm.
do I not feel confident that he's going to win like I would with All Might? I'm like,
Right.
does that make me a bad friend? Do I have not have any confidence in him? And then obviously fast forward, all
Mm-hmm.
for one scene, and like you just said, all All Might's absolute strength inspired people is like, oh, All Might will never need our help. Just even think about their last fight. The only person who went to truly help was like Endeavor and like Gran Torino. Obviously, because that's why Hawks likes Endeavor because he still tries to pursue All Might, even though it was such an
Right.
unattainable goal. And
Right.
Gran Torino is basically like his surrogate teacher grandfather type
Right.
deal. So, yeah, outside of that, think about it. All the other heroes, we're all just watching it on TV instead of
Mm-hmm.
coming to the fight. But
Right.
Midoriya, you're seeing this kid is like, bro, he's not All Might. He's not invincible. He doesn't have any of that aura, none of that stuff. He is literally, as a tagline, saying he's trying his best. And that inspired all the weaklings in All for One's thing to be like, we got to try our best too.
Two.
And then that finally breaks through to the United States where they're just like, I don't care. Send every hero we got. And then like that's probably his chief of staff, I would assume, who
That
was
he's
like
yelling at, yeah, for sure. And the
it
chief of
was like
staff is
if we
like,
do it, we're he's like, I don't care, just send everyone. Because everyone is seeing that this kid is doing his best and he's not invincible, and none of these people are, and all for it's a concept. It's just like, hey, needing help is okay. Like that's a strength. Like, but All Might, he was so strong and all that that he never needed help and nobody came to help
ever
him
st-
ever.
right. Nobody ever stepped up to help him because why? He's All Might. He doesn't need
hmm
it.
So I thought that was one of the most powerful like messages and all that stuff they were sending like throughout the series because then you see each person
Yep.
helping from class 1A,
And
even
1B.
1B
1B
and
jumps into
1B, everyone like just clearing a path because they're like he's Nora's the only one who can
end it.
end it. So and then also too, which we love the callback of all this stuff,
Yes.
all four of the
Yes.
movies all being represented one, two, three, and
And
four,
four.
all of them saying do your best, all that jazz. It was amazing in that standpoint. And then obviously the last person to say do your best was Midoriya's mom,
Mm-hmm.
copying the same frame and walk that Midoriya did when he ran out to go save Bakugo.
Yes. Oh, that
Um,
gives me chills thinking about it.
and then everyone saying that, and then you literally see the last like basically like Detroit Smash for real, and like with the
Mm-hmm.
music going and all of that, and you're just sitting there like I think it has to be the epilogue because I know when people were talking like on the internet when the ending happened, they were like pissed because they felt like the ending was terrible. It
Mm-hmm.
could not have been that unless they animated it significantly better than what how it was read out in the manga because that was crazy. Like I
Right.
was just floored on what I was seeing on the TV.
Right.
Like all the
Same.
music, all that jazz, everyone saying "Do your best" as he's clenching his fist, and you're seeing all the things of everyone's pictures and all of that, and he hits it, and you're just like, "Damn, finally, it's
Mm-hmm.
finally over." No, the fuck it's not, as always.
Right.
All for one is just like, hold on now, and then he's trying to regenerate all of that stuff again,
Again, yeah.
again, and then if he does it this time, it's over.
I literally wrote down somewhere, I can't find the note, but I literally wrote down, it's like, of course, All for One can like hold his body together with his freaking quirks. Like, for
hmm
real, like, seriously. So, um, I did appreciate um the comment about how it circled back to the very, very beginning when Midoriya is having to train to inherit the quirk
Yep.
because an unprepared body can't inherit it fully.
Yep.
And then he specifically emphasizes it's now the combined strength of all nine of us.
hmm
And he's like, I only had it for the 2 years, but now his strength, even though he didn't have a quirk, again, just like All Might didn't have a quirk, it's still amplified and strengthened the quirk. So again,
2 years is crazy though. When he said that
Right?
out loud, I was just like, yeah. So that means tech because we're thinking about like, oh, one school year because they haven't went to thing, but
Right.
no, it's been 2 years.
Because he had to train up for the exam. So he was doing that while he was still in middle school. So we've been following him since basically either the second half of his middle school year or whatever, however it lays out. Plus, again, with all the slice of life that I read, I really should know, have a better understanding and grasp of like the Japanese schooling system and like how their
Hmm.
years count.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like, anyway, but he's been on this journey for 2 years. So he's had the quirk and has been building it up for 2 years. Um, I did also take note of the fact that when he does that smash, he didn't punch him in the face. He didn't punch him straight in the gut. He punched All for One in the exact same area that he mentally like drew or like pictured a hole
Hmm.
in his like lower chest, upper stomach when he made that comment about how, his brother's gone, his obsession's gone. Like there's a hole that can't be filled. And then we have Midoriya basically like, try this.
Yeah.
Punches him straight in that, hole, metaphorical hole. But again, he he's disintegrating. We think it's done. And then of course, like he said, it's not. It's just not. But then we start getting into Kurogiri, or at this point, we know him to be Shirakumo because he seems to have a little bit of sentience. He called President Mike by his name. He was crying when President Mike was beating him up,
Hmm.
for taking them away and trying to subdue him enough to then listen to them. But then Aizawa sees the tears and he calls President Mike by his name, and they realize like, no, he's in there. He protected us. He could have warped us like into the rocks. He could have, warped us into like several different pieces. He still protected us.
Hmm.
Um, and so when Shirakumo like pops up to protect Shigaraki, he tells All for One, give Shigaraki back. His friend is waiting for him, which was also to me a touching moment. I don't know about you, but that's when we have who again we thought was gone on the way to the ER. And who was it? It was All Might. I think it was either All Might or Sukauchi. It was somebody made a comment about like, Bakugo, you were on your way to the hospital. What the fuck? Because all of a sudden, that next blow, there's Bakugo right on Midoriya's right,
Yeah.
his right
Actually, a
hand
lot of
man.
people were mad about that scene because Midoriya didn't acknowledge Bakugo. Like a lot of people were like, "How did you not say anything to Bakugo being right next to you?" I'm just saying that's what a lot of people were like, really? Like you acknowledge like all those people who were helping you get that Detroit final smash in, but then like Bakugo's right there and you're not saying anything. Like
I mean, okay. Do you feel that way? Because I didn't read
I
it like that at all.
I don't, but then when I like watch the frame, I'm like, wow, Bakugo's really like right next to him. When
Mm-hmm.
like the last time they saw each other, Bakugo was like on a super thing up there, and
Yeah.
they locked eyes and they were able to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like,
And he saw him save All Might.
yeah,
I
I was
don't,
like, maybe they could have done it. Like, I think I would have been fine with a head nod. I didn't need a whole conversation, but
I don't know. I'd
maybe,
have to rewatch it to look, but I thought he like made eye contact with him, and I guess for me, I I feel like their acknowledgement of each other is so fleshed out. Like Midoriya isn't the one that has to say that he acknowledges Bakugo. He's always acknowledged his strength. The issue was always Bakugo acknowledging Deku in a way that's not antagonistic. And so Bakugo re-emphasized that in this moment. So to me that made sense. Like I didn't feel that that was a slight at all. I think it's one of those things to me again. Also, I feel like they don't need to communicate at this point. Just like again, like you mentioned, Bakugo stands up on that platform. They don't need to speak. They don't send each other signs. They know what the plan is and they execute. So like I
yeah,
feel like that's a little bit of that, if
that
that
was
makes
just
sense.
one of the things I saw. The other thing that I saw that happened in this is that it was an anime only thing where it shows all the vestiges punching all for one. So
Yeah.
that was apparent because I saw that from people that was not in the manga. So that was anime
Okay.
only touch of 1 through 8, plus Shigaraki all punching from the
Yes.
other
And
side. So like having a double punch, well, not a double punch because there's 9 total.
Right.
punch sandwich, and that finally being
The
the
end,
end. So,
because Midoriya makes contact with the physical and Shigaraki makes contact with the essentially like mental or the psyche side. So it's combining both.
yeah.
I also really appreciated Midoriya's kind of comments too, all for one, when he's kind of freaking out, like I'm the demon lord, like I'm supposed to rule all of this, whatever, whatever. I need to find just another vessel, blah 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 blah. And he says, like, you're no demon lord, you're nothing but a lonely man. The first time I heard that, my jaw dropped because I don't know why I didn't see that sooner. And I think that also calls into a little bit of like the current discourse around the male loneliness epidemic and, red pill content, all that fun stuff. But a lot of people would say one of the most dangerous things on this planet is a lonely, radicalized man. And so that was partially why that line really hit me.
It was by choice. That's his choice. He didn't
It,
have to
it, it
be.
was it he exactly. I'm not saying it was predestined. I'm not saying he had no control over that, but it was really nice, honestly, to me, to start to see the pitifulness of him come forward, of him begging his brother, like, look at me, like, have your eyes on me. And it really comes full circle in the sense of like, damn, he really was just lonely, but look at all the damage he's done. Again, that's no excuse. Midoriya, before all this, says, like, I can never forgive you for what you've done. Um, and again, in the pitifulness also to me reminds me of the whole like discourse around manipulation in relationships. All for one, when he gets to meet with his brother's like flickering remains, I guess, of his like psyche, younger brothers, is like, and he's begging him to like look at him, come back, like don't go, don't leave me. And he says, I'm nothing without you. Again, I feel like that's something, that phrase in certain contexts has been overly romanticized as being like, oh my gosh, they loved me so much, they couldn't exist without me. But this is a very clear illustration of how actually that's a really manipulative and like codependent statement. It's not a good thing to ever have to say. Um, and if you truly believe that, you got a lot of work to do, a lot of personal work to do, because that has nothing to do with that other person. That's something in you. And again, circling back, it goes to illustrating him being a lonely man, being an empty man, again, with that hole, even without, you know, technically he had that hole even when his brother was alive. He just thought he was filling it by keeping his brother under his thumb.
And like he said, he needed to pay. She said,
You
you
have
gotta
to,
pay for your crimes. And then he's destroyed for good.
for
Finally,
good. The whole body's gone.
whole body is gone. Deku and Shigaraki have their one last conversation, and just him, Shigaraki admitting he's like, "Dang, I really was that crying kid,"
Yeah, you were
and he
right.
lamenting that he couldn't destroy anything. I was like, I don't know about all that. We have 7 seasons worth where you were just,
You destroying and fucking up shit.
yeah. So I
And
don't know about all that.
I did, I was surprised by his message for Spinner a little bit.
I
It
was
makes
surprised he
sense.
thought about him. Like that was the last person you thought about while you're dying.
And I think that's where maybe, I don't know if the manga fleshes it out a little bit more, but I hadn't realized until that moment how much that essentially Spinner is Shigaraki's best friend. Like
Mm,
he sees all the League of Villains when he's talking about he needs to be the hero, the villain's hero.
hmm
And they're all there, but his last message isn't to the League, it's to Spinner specifically. And we knew Spinner was really attached to Shigaraki. Like he viewed Shigaraki as his best friend. But again, we've had this conversation before where best friendships can be one directional, where, you can be somebody else's best friend, but your best friend is somebody else. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yep.
So I did think it was, again, it makes sense with him having to be the hero for the villains. But I don't know, part of me wished he would have lamented that, he didn't need to destroy things. But again, in this sense, when he says, tell Spinner that Tomura Shigaraki, and I find it interesting that he specifically says Tomura Shigaraki instead of Tenko, using his real name, fought to destroy to the end, which, again, destroying things is not always completely negative. You need to destroy bad habits. You need to, you know, get rid of certain things. And that's been illustrated in this world because when Shigaraki was still fighting Midoriya, I thought that was really powerful because we've had throughout this season an audience being like, come on, Midoriya, or let's go All Might, let's rooting for the good guys. In this episode earlier on, we get to see all of the people that are rooting for Shigaraki. They want him to destroy everything. They want him to win,
which is
which,
crazy.
again, but it is crazy. However, we had the Meta Liberation Army having, what was it, 100,000, 10,000 people, and these were everyday ordinary people. So there's something broken in this whole thing that needed to be destroyed and reestablished. So in that sense, I mean, he did destroy until the end because that's now been broken, which is part of, the beginning discussion of the next episode.
Yeah, I was trying to get the exact number. Mm. It's funny how Destro wrote the Meta Liberation War book, autobiography book, which exposes the idea of quirk liberation. Yeah, they had like a billion, quadrillion people. Like it was kind of crazy. Now, what a time that used to be. What a
Mm-hmm.
time. Like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so then they finally Shigaraki and All for One are finally dead. Um, and everyone's looking in the sky as Midoriya's punch was so powerful, clears the sky, and
Mm-hmm.
Shigaraki's body, ironically, decays away,
Mm-hmm.
with both of them dying. All right, so this episode, we're talking about case studies and all that stuff. We'll do it in three parts, really, really on a time thing. So, first part of it, the restoration. Oh, so now when everything's over, now all the other heroes of the crossover want to come help, blah, blah, blah.
I freaking know. Oh my God. I know we mentioned this in the last episode because that's when we panned to the president of the United States being like, we need to be out there. And I'm just sitting here like, fuck you, asshole. Like, it's too late for that. Unless you have heroes that can like instantaneously transport, fuck off.
Yeah, they
Like,
were very, very, very late in the sense. Also, I just want to talk about just quick then because there was a quote when All Might was obviously laying on the
yes.
ground
Mm-hmm.
and he's talking to like Star's crew and
Yep.
he was talking about something. Well, Bakugo's new thing that he adopted in season five
Mm-hmm.
about total victory and
Total
also
victory
having as few death or casualties as
possible.
possible.
Yeah.
So,
Because, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, but the first part of this is obviously the three of them because they've been connected this whole series. All Might, Bakugo, and Midoriya,
Mm-hmm.
all in the hospital. And of course, I mean, first the doctor's talking to Bakugo like, "Dog, you
Yep.
might not be able to use that arm ever again."
Yeah,
And
he might
I'm
not
like,
be
"Oh,
right.
Jesus!"
And we're talking about one of the things where it might be quote unquote easier is to go ahead and amputate and give him a prosthetic like Mirko. And it's like,
He's like,
oh
"I ain't doing it."
fuck. And he's
And that's
like,
a
nah.
name and that was a name I haven't heard in a while too. I haven't seen her since she got blasted by
Right.
Shigaraki. So who knows
True.
what status like her body was in. But then obviously he was able to find because his parents were there. He was able to find Izuku. Why don't I call him his first name? Midoriya and All
Mm-hmm.
Might in the same room. And he walked in on because Bakugo did not know.
No.
He walked in on the last part. He's like, "What do you mean it's
You mean
gone?"
yeah, what do you mean
Embers.
embers? Like, what do you mean embers? And so he, oh my God, that hurt. That hurt my heart so much watching him break down and cry and have such like a soft and sad look on his face. And he's talking about how like I thought we were going to keep doing this, for good. We would keep, pushing each other and competing with each other and catching up to each other. And the last time he spoke to Midoriya, again, he spoke to Midoriya again. I haven't seen the discourse about Midoriya not saying anything to him or having a thought process, but again, I think it's a little implied. Anyway, so Bakugo tells Midoriya, you know, that he's gonna be that he'll keep trying to catch up to him. And so the last he knew is, Deku's beyond me. And now all of a sudden, and he was just thinking about him as an example of like, he's been battered and broken and come back. So like, yeah, I'm gonna try to, you know, keep my arm and, train it back up and whatever. And now he comes to find out Midoriya doesn't have a quirk anymore. And I thought it was actually, again, Deku as a character is so wholesome and optimistic and idealistic that it makes my heart warm, honestly, when he responded pretty quickly, not with any sort of anger or concern or regret. He's like, well, technically I never had a quirk, so nothing's really changed, but having one for all gave me a really good taste of a great dream. And I was like,
I think I think one of the best videos I've seen of that. If you really if you really want to see why, I mean, again, I know these people. Obviously, you're not a fan of Endeavor or anything like that, but then like this episode specifically, it does show why Bakugo's been ranked the number one character for so long, and it does show why a lot of people like Endeavor, and he's been ranked so off the top. With the
mm-hmm,
Bakugo one, go and you can find it probably anywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok,
mm-hmm,
whatever. Watch Bakugo's expression when he first found out Midoriya had a quirk, like when he's like, "You've had a quirk all this time, you haven't told me," and like the anger
right,
tears, to
yep,
when he finds out Midoriya doesn't have a quirk 8 seasons later, and the sadness tears, and you just see the complete character change and development. Like that is wild in itself. And then Alma, saying how they both gotten stronger, blah blah, them laughing and all that. Still want to keep this connected to this part of it because I want to stay with the school because obviously they go back to school, they show them in school.
mm-hmm,
Obviously we finally have one of your favorites coming to class now, 2A, because due to the circumstances, typically when you graduate a class, you don't have the same teacher, but
right,
this was a crazy
hell
circumstances,
of
so they
a
still
year.
get they still got a racer head, and
Yep,
Shinsho's taking Can't
Aoyama's
Stop
place,
Twinking's
yeah,
place because he's going to atone for being the traitor and all that, and he says he's going to meet them again at one point.
yeah,
Obviously now we finally have the graduation of the big three, and
mm-hmm.
everyone was shocked because Mirio did not joke at all. He was dead serious in his
I
speech.
know. I wrote that down too. It was like his speech was really unexpected. I mean, everybody like keels over kind of because they're expecting him to make some sort of joke in the
Hmm.
opener, and he's completely serious. And what he's saying, you know, does command a level of respect and seriousness that is needed. And in it, but it was also really inspirational and
Yep.
hope filled. His comment about how heroes fight to think to take things from a negative
Just a
back
zero.
to back to zero, to set things back to normal, back to the status quo. And he's like, we can't do that this time. Like it's
Hmm.
about more than that. Like we need to do more than that. And I think this is also where, I don't remember if this is where Midoriya is having the thoughts or talking about it, that when he was younger, he thought and again, I'm this way too. I would have also assumed when I was little, after the big fight is done, everything goes back to normal, or peace is immediate, and it's not. And that's when he kind of makes the comment again without saying plus ultra. He says we need to go beyond, and then I think the speech happens, but that those two things tie together, and that
Yeah.
was, to me, it was unexpected for his speech to be that way, but it was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah. So that was this again, like the fact that you already said everyone was shocked that he wasn't joking. He was like, and just hearing that from you're basically trying to get from negative to zero. Like you're not
Right.
even to being here. You can't even get to positive. You're just trying to get it back to zero.
Mm-hmm.
But that was crazy. So in that sense and all of that, that was cool in that sense. And also, it was funny seeing. the principal because he's put in a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny too because again, back in the day, a lot of people thought he was like the traitor or traitor
Right.
contention, and
Right.
he was far from it.
From it. Yeah. I mean,
So,
he's part of the reason so many people survived. He helped
hmm
to could devise the system that disrupted Shigaraki's decay, because otherwise all of Japan probably would have been decayed by now.
yep, yep,
Um, and he had laid they mentioned he laid the groundwork about what comes after the fight, before the fight even happened. And again, this to me, this was also a blatant Avengers callback of Fury having the heads on the screen that he's talking to and appealing
yep,
to.
yep.
That was
That's a good
I
callback by you. Yep,
was just like, oh yeah, that's another Marvel thing. But his attitude versus Nick Fury's is very different.
very, yep.
Although that immediately is still one of my favorite things from the Marvel Cinematic Universe is like, I heard your opinion, but given it's a stupid opinion,
hmm
I'm not gonna follow
Follow
it.
it. No, that was good. So yeah, so just shout out to the principal because again, he put in a lot of work throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
All right, second part of this
Yeah,
episode, the Todorokis.
the
Um,
Todorokis.
all of them going
To see
to
Toya.
to see Toya. I mean, he's dying. He's gonna die. We know he's gonna die, but he's on the life support thing, and
Mm-hmm.
he has a limit, obviously, of how much he can speak
And
uh,
interact and
and
talk and
interact.
the stress that he can handle. Like, just
Hmm
picture going to visit, somebody in the hospital in critical condition. Like,
Yep.
there's not much for energy that they can expend beyond what keeps them alive. And again, this is where we get back to Dobby was supposed to be dead, quote unquote, per the doctor's prediction, like over 3 years ago.
hmm
And then I thought he was dead after fighting Shoto. And then he turns himself into a bomb,
Bomb that was gonna
and
blow
his
up all of
and his
Japan.
family neutralizes him. And I'm over here like, how is this man not dead? Like, anyway.
Yeah, so that was crazy, and also it's the first time all of them, even
All of
though
them.
he's on life support, all of them are in the same spot. You know, they're each trying to get their say on what they want to say to him
Mm-hmm.
before all
He
of that.
passes, yeah.
Only one who doesn't, because he actually really pisses me off. I'm not even gonna.
Really?
The older brother, oh yeah, I'm not a fan of the older brother.
Really?
No, I'm really
Okay.
not. I
Interesting.
really never have been, especially since he got abducted that one time. I'm like, dog, come on, man. Like, what do
Mm-hmm.
we? Do you not have any? Like, you have a quirk too. You couldn't get out of
Mm-hmm. The
that
bindings, he couldn't
stuff.
have done anything, yeah. Because I mean, he also has an ice quirk, no?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does.
they all have the ice quirk. But yeah,
So,
so I actually we'll get to that in a minute, but I'm not mad at his decision. I'm really not.
I've just
Um
never liked him. I really haven't. I've
I've
not.
never I've never disliked him. Again, I felt like in proportion to most like real people I know, if I was in that situation, I feel like I'd be in between him and Fuyumi with how it's handled, um, and dealing with their anger and grief and all that stuff and trauma around the situation. But I don't like, yeah, I've never quote unquote disliked him ever. I haven't
Mm.
really ever found a reason to dislike him. Again, yeah, it was kind of unfortunate that he got kidnapped and then
Oh,
whatever, but
I'm just.
nah.
He's
Nope.
never for me. He's probably my least favorite Todoroki, and that is really saying something.
I
But
mean, well, even less than Endeavor?
mhm,
That's interesting. But okay.
I just never have. And then they're all there yapping it up.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, of course, the main one of the one Shoto gets the last. It's funny hearing him just ask like,
Something so basic.
"Yeah, what's his favorite food?" And they both have the same favorite food. Another thing too, if you want to go, if you want to look at the picture of Shoto telling his parents that he's going to be fine because he has his friends from
Right.
class 1A, like that facial expression in his face from season
Yeah.
8 compared to what he looked like when he was
When he showed up in season two. Yeah.
based, yeah, when he showed up in season 2 and just even in the beginning, like you just saw him and you're just like,
Oh, he's
wow, this
got,
is
yep.
the same person.
Person. Yeah.
And then Endeavor talked about how he's going to be coming every day, basically until Toya dies, and
Right.
how he's going to be retiring, which I'm like, dog, I mean, everyone's in a wheelchair. I mean,
I was
it's
gonna
kind of
say
bad.
you have to. You're missing an arm. It
Yeah,
looked like something was wrong with one of his legs as well. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
bro,
bad
you're
out.
done.
And then the oldest is he has a girlfriend who he's going
Gonna
to be
propose to.
proposed to. For Yumi, she is getting a new job at a new school.
Not
They
a new
didn't
school. It's no. It's some one of the parents for the kids she used to teach set her up with a new job. She
new
didn't say exactly
job.
what it was. To me, it kind of gave me what I read into it as was like a nanny thing. Was that she connected her to like
Let's find
another
out.
family or like another employer to do something similar, but that she wasn't going back to teaching. Because I think that was Natsu's question. Are you going to go back to teaching? And she said no.
Let's see if they have it. Have it.
But I didn't get that far in my rewatch of this episode, to be fair. So I'm only going off of my first
No, no.
rewatch.
I get it.
I
I
will
get it.
say I have seen videos of people talking about people being upset with the fact that Ray is there and that she's pushing Endeavor's wheelchair. Um, and I feel like I can understand some of the frustration from that because it's one of those things where, he did so much to her and he traumatized her so much. He, took, liberties, tore apart the family. But we've already seen in previous seasons where she feels like she has to take responsibility for like her contributions to the environment, to the system. And so even the kids, again, I don't necessarily agree with the siblings being at fault, quote unquote, in the whole dynamic. However, I feel like it's in line with her character because she, you know, has shown up for him before. And I mean, real life application or real life, like my parents are divorced. Nothing nearly as tragic, traumatic as the Todoroki family, of course. But with my dad having health problems, like I don't foresee my mom not lending a helping hand, like because that's part of who she is as a person. Like it's the same thing with when my grandma was passing away. Her would have been her mother-in-law. Again, they were already divorced, but she was showing up for my grandma every week, sometimes multiple times a week, helping to take care of her before she went into a nursing home because, just because they got divorced doesn't mean she doesn't care about them anymore. And you can have care for someone without, quote unquote, forgiving them or feeling like, having your feelings of you did bad things to me. Like that's just a fact. However, it's in her character to still be kind, I guess. And to my understanding, people are reading into that situation as like that they're getting back together or they're going to live together or something. And I don't think it's that deep. I mean, Endeavor had already said that he was removing himself essentially from the family, that he would put all of them up in a separate house together, Ray and all the kids, and he would go atone on his own. So I don't think, even if that were to come true in the sense that she lives with him, I think she'd be doing it of her own volition, which again, that's the character that's being written. And I don't think that's against her character. You can disagree with with it being realistic or that, you wouldn't do that, which is fine, but you have to separate yourself and what you would do in that situation from who that character is. And I feel like that character, it makes sense for her to do that and assist him with the wheelchair. But beyond that, that's all she's done. She's just pushed him into the facility and pushed him out because they're in the same place.
I I honestly think the people who type that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
well, you don't type that stuff, but because this doesn't apply to you, but
Mm-hmm.
I do think a lot of people who type that stuff literally have had comfy, cozy lives and have not worked like a real serious job in their life. And what I
Fair.
mean and seen like real life shit. And what
Mm-hmm.
I mean by that is that one, obviously to a lesser degree. I've been fortunate this hasn't happened to me in my life, but I know a lot of people who this has happened where how many times has if you switched roles with one of your friends and your friends was in a relationship you were in, you would have told your friend to get out.
Mm-hmm.
But since you're the one who's in the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
you don't take your own advice.
Right.
In terms of this one, I if that is her choice of relation, if it, we're getting way too deep into it, but if she does want to be with him, then that's her choice. There are people from the jobs that you've had, the jobs that I've had. I know someone who got shot in the face
Mm-hmm.
by their person, and you know how they responded? They had two more kids with that person, and they're still together. This shit happens in the real world, like
It
it,
does.
for better or for worse. We do not there's nothing we can do about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
whatever someone wants to live in, their home is how they want to live, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it unless they're asking for help. She's
Right.
not asking for help at this point. She
Mm-mm.
is gone past that because not because of her oldest son, not because of her oldest daughter, not because of her estranged or together husband, well, two oldest sons. The only reason she got past her thing was because of the youngest son. Because
Mm-hmm.
she saw the youngest son in the sports that Midoriya fight changed everything. Like for
Mm-hmm.
the Midoriya fight, it is so crazy how just on the inverse, because technically, which is kind of weird to really think Midoriya actually lost that fight because he landed out of bounds first. But
Yeah.
that fight is literally almost to an extent a copy and paste of the Naruto versus Neji fight.
Mm-hmm.
From the exact, it's just Naruto's fight changed the Hyuga clan, Midoriya's fight changed the Todoroki family.
Right.
So, which is crazy that I don't think that's ever really even been said on this pod before. How that
I don't
fight
think so.
literally has the
No.
same exact principles.
Yep.
Shoto is literally a genius like Neji.
Yep.
He talks about he can't change his family fate, all that stuff, and he doesn't want to acknowledge stuff like Neji. Like it is the same thing. That just thank God that we didn't needlessly sacrifice Shoto's life like they did Neji, so we'll actually get to
Right.
see. Well, he'll get to see what he does. Well, depending on that. So it's just like when
Mm-hmm.
I see those things, I'm like, are you in the like if you could tell me to my face that you throughout all this healing, all this stuff, you wouldn't go back to him, fine. That's but if you went through the healing process and all this stuff, I can't. I've gotten to the point in my life is like I cannot tell like
No.
I cannot tell you to unless you want help. Like unless you're asking for help, for my opinion, that's when I can give it. In terms
That's
of
true.
this family, like I mean, who the fuck else was gonna push him? I mean, the daughter, sure.
I was gonna say
Obviously not
that was my next statement was like who else is gonna push him? The next obvious choice would be the oldest son since he's the biggest and the
and he's not
strongest.
doing it.
He's not freaking doing it.
They're not gonna have Shoto do it because he's the main character of the family, so he has to have that walking by him like self
By himself,
presence.
yeah.
So all of that, and for Yumi, I mean, she was the one who forgave Endeavor at the beginning anyway. So
True.
it's like, but I just think how that thing is just how this family's been like the underlying thing, and obviously like after the
Mm-hmm.
All Might thing, we obviously had the Todoroki one that we had that dynamic and all that jazz, and how it's been like the underlying story of the
Mm-hmm.
main story
Right.
of this. So it's just like, and again, now they're all adults. They've all made their decisions. Like Natsu's gonna go be with his girlfriend. He's gonna propose. He's not gonna invite Endeavor to wedding. Endeavor's like, fine, I get it, sure,
Yeah.
whatever.
And that he's basically kind of like, I'm out. I don't want any contact. Like to my understanding, he made it sound like he's not even gonna go back to see Toya.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah,
done. He's
he's
done.
done. So and I did appreciate this because again, to me, he's informing everyone of his boundaries. He's free to change his mind. However,
Hmm.
the others are not free to try to impose their ideas on him. Like that's the boundary that he's setting. He's saying like I'm cutting contact. Like it's, you know, I don't remember exactly what he says and I wish I would have gotten to this part of the rewatch so I could quote him specifically. But there are situations and instances when cutting family members off, cutting your family out completely is the most sane thing you could
Yeah,
do for
there's
yourself and your mental health. And so i
nothing
did
wrong
i
with it.
did appreciate that was illustrated, that not all the family members come around to the sense of like I'll still be around, especially with Natsuo again. He's always had that anger. He continues to say, actually, even before he leaves and makes his final comments, he even mentions, like, today, Endeavor, today's the day that I actually think that you're pretty cool, or that, like, this is the best that you've ever been. And two things can be true at once. He can still feel that way and want no contact with him ever again. He feels like he had
Oh yeah.
already tried to say what he needed to say to his older brother. He was there, you know, to wish him well, or, just
Mhm.
visit. But now he's done, and that's his choice.
Yeah, and again, they're all adults now, so whatever you choose, what you choose. There's no wrong if or wrong about it, obviously. So that's his choice. I mean, obviously, the sister's going to keep in contact with the family.
Mm-hmm.
Shoto is probably going to keep in contact. I mean, with his parents and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
his thing like that. That's fine. If Natsu wants to do his route, that's his route. But I believe when they were talking, how Endeavor said he's going to come there every day to talk to Toy and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this was probably, and again, I think this was one of the more powerful lines of the past three episodes. I believe it was the mom, who
Mm-hmm.
she was like, that sounds like, that sounds like hell, and he was talking about, oh, blah blah blah, hell this, and even she said, even going through hell, you don't got to do it alone. And who's calling? Hawks is calling. You see all
Hawks
the
is,
texts
mm-hmm.
asking like, how'd the meeting go? Do you need to
Go.
meet up?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you want to talk about it? And then you see Endeavor smiling because now he has a
Mm-hmm.
lifelong
Friend.
friend in Hawks, who obviously Hawks idolized
Mm-hmm.
Endeavor. And so, I mean, that was really um crazy stuff. Little bow on the family. And again, like we said, Shoto said, hey, mom, dad, I'm gonna be good. I got the friends now at UA. And you're thinking
Mm-hmm.
about how he had no friends and
Friends.
everyone
And how he
just,
didn't want any. It
he
wasn't even
didn't
like
want
he
any.
he wanted none. Like, I mean, he could have had all the friends that he wanted. He just didn't want any. He thought
Yeah,
they would be in the way, that, having any other emotions besides the ones that could keep stoking his anger and
yep,
hatred and, need for revenge was going to make him weaker. But he had the realization that Sasuke should have had way earlier.
yeah. So it's kind of so he was fine, and then like you see Endeavor and all that. Then you obviously have like the people from the Endeavor agency waiting
Yep.
for him and all that. So that was really cool in a sense in that like second part. The third part, which was mentioned one sentence, but we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
expand upon it a little more before we close. Is the world worse than what it was? Because they brought up the thing how they talked about the rebuilding. It was a little between
Yep.
like Muriel's speech and all that, but let's really look at this now. Is it obviously when All Might left, when they talked about
Mm-hmm.
it a little bit, there was a huge gap,
Yep.
villain activity, because
Yep.
there was no like symbol and all that stuff. And obviously
Right.
Endeavor and Hawks were basically
The
like
makeup. Mm-hmm.
the rush hour duo, pretty much. Like that's what they were. But now let's really look at this. All Might's never fighting again, even in an
Nope.
armor suit. He's done.
Yep.
One for All is gone from the world,
Mm-hmm.
so there's no more of
Its
that.
mission was completed. They've
Yep.
repeated that several times, is that its original mission has been completed, to
Yeah,
be
well,
reconnected with its
crime
originator.
crime never sleeps. So that's
Nope.
done. So that is done. The strongest quirk ever is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Star and Stripe, the strongest woman we've seen on here,
Yep.
probably one of the strongest grabbers. She's been dead.
Finn.
The United
Yep.
States doesn't have their thing.
Yep.
The number one and number two hero in Japan are done.
Yep.
Because
They retired, because we
they
see Hawks.
retired.
When we see
Yep.
Hawks, they're talking about how he's the new chairman for, is it the
The
Hero
public
Commission?
safety, no, the
There we
public
go.
safety
Public Safety
commission.
Commission.
The
That's what
little
it's called.
fucking snakes.
Yeah.
But now, so those two are gone.
Mm-hmm.
If
We don't
someone
know
popped,
how Best Genius shook out, because he
yep.
was number three. And I mean, he was a little worse for wear. We didn't see him in the hospital. So hopefully that means he's not like totally incapacitated. But yeah, so like
And then
we
obviously they were probably safe too because I'm pretty sure because when the other two big three members were talking about like, oh yeah, you still, but they have Mirio didn't keep us like safe. We could have been a lot worse. I was like, oh, so he was protecting everyone who
probably up there on the. Mm-hmm.
When Midoriya and Shigaraki were going at, he evacuated those people. So now just like to go back to that thing we talked about earlier, like if a bad guy pops up right now, what the hell happens?
Right. And it's one of those things where, quote unquote, is it a bad guy who's on, the street level? He's robbing a place, just being, a selfish fuck off. Like, okay, they'll be able to handle it. But if another super villain just fucking pops up, yeah, they'd be in real trouble. However, my hope is, again, we already have seen heroes from the other countries now appearing in Japan, so they should have more help and assistance should something like that happen.
Should, but
But
different leaderships, different politics,
and I think
all of that.
I
And also shout out to the weather lady being back. I never thought we'd see
yes,
her again.
yes, that was the first thing I wrote down because again, I wrote my notes in like chronological order of how it happened in the episode. That was the first thing is we went back to Washington, US, the weather woman, and she, they're like, oh, thank God she's not going to say anything weird again. And then as she's closing the broadcast, talking about, the sudden clear skies and how is that gust of wind going to
Hmm.
shape the weather. And, we know she means like shape the future,
Yeah.
which is awesome. So, and that is the question that I'm hoping we will get a little bit more answers to. To me, with that question being posed and then seeing Hawks as the head of the Public Safety Commission, we already know that system's going to be completely redone because he's seen what it can do on the negative and on the positive side. So he's going to head that up in a different way, I believe. Um, Especially with him being so young and, having that connection with Lady Nagant before she, kind of disappeared. We don't know if she passed away for sure or not.
I
But
think she's still alive.
I think so too. We just
Yeah,
didn't
she
see
was
her
talk. I
anywhere.
think she's still alive because last time she was talking to Rocklock.
Right.
I don't think she
Uh,
died. Yeah.
I don't think so either. But it kind of made it seem really dramatic that she shouldn't have been out of bed and that it was really critical for her to not like
Well,
leave.
she's probably never fighting again. Like she's
Well, for
probably
sure.
like in the same like death on wheelchair. You can't fight anymore. You can't shoot your arm type deal anymore.
But also she was an escapee. So technically, would she be going back to jail or are they going to commute her sentence or like
Yeah,
what
or get pardoned
mm-hmm.
for her
For her
actions.
contributions? Yeah.
But you talked about something earlier in the thing
Mm-hmm.
of there were people who were cheering for Shigaraki.
Yeah.
So those people who are cheering for him, if they see like, hey, this guy was right, I want to continue that legacy,
Yeah.
even though we that's there's nothing of that written up to sort of that, but
And so,
that could be that could be a whole other sequel, movies, and if
mm-hmm.
that stuff does happen, because again, like,
Who
what
is
if
it?
someone gets born with a power stronger than Ares, or like
Right.
someone like that, and they get and they're like, oh, I want to be like Shigaraki when I grow up, or I want to be
Mm-hmm.
like all it takes is that deal of ideology, and obviously the third movie, like you just
Mm-hmm.
get some followers and all that, and like if a
Start
trigger
the
bomb,
cult.
yeah, like a cult started right now from the third movie, right now with all these
Mm-hmm.
powers and people down, what the hell would they do?
That's a good question. I'm hoping we don't have to find out because everything's gonna be great anyway.
I would also say too that when I talked about it last time, I was literally one episode off on the pacing
Yep.
of the
Yeah.
thing, just one off. I didn't think the epilogue would be multiple episodes, which I'm happy for because I do want
Me
to see why
too.
people were so pissed off at because it could not have been the final fight. So it has to be this like last episode that pissed people off. So
So I did have the ending a little bit spoiled for me, and to my understanding of the discourse, because I didn't dive too deep, because again, I don't want to say I don't mind when I get spoiled. It's more so that if it's spoiled with full context, that really gets me versus like something happening because I don't know how we get there.
mhm.
So to my understanding, what I had spoiled is that at the end, Deku doesn't have a quirk anymore. And
Which
to my
that's where we're at
understanding,
now. Yep.
people were really upset about that. There's a
Yep.
second component to it, but from where we are right now, from what I understood, is people were very upset with the choice for him to no longer have a quirk. They felt like, he should have still maintained part of it, like even more than Embers, or there should have been a different way to write it out that he gets to be the last wielder but he like dies with the quirk per se. But although if that's the case, it's already been established that if you have that quirk you die really young, so it'd be a death sentence for him to still have it anyway.
And this
um
pod said a long time ago he would be the final user
right.
before we even knew what was going on. We said he's being the final user one way or another. He's dying with it, or so he will not. He is the final user.
Yeah. And so, and I do wonder if like that might have been an alternate alternate option, excuse me, of instead of him having to give the quirk back or like, force it in and all that fun stuff, that he does the sacrifice play and it's one of those mutual knockout that they both die. Um, I very much thought that that's how it was going to end and how he becomes quote unquote the greatest heroes because he makes the ultimate sacrifice even as a kid. Because he's still only 16. Todoroki's only 16. Like they're still kids. They're only in their second year of high school, quote unquote. But
Yeah, so
like
I
to my
get that.
understanding, that was the main thing is that he now did not have a quirk, and there's a back part of it that I'm hoping we get to in the epilogues that we can talk about in this next go around. But oh my God, Martin, it's one more,
Yeah, I can also see why people.
it's one more podcast for us.
Yeah, I can see why people are mad too, because I could be that mad in a sense too that like if you're buying the merchandise, you're going to the movies, you're talking about this stuff, you're invested in the characters, you go you go all this way to the end, and he's not going to be a hero as a pro, like as of right now, like anime watching.
Right,
I would be pissed too. I wholeheartedly get that part because that's like you get to the end of Naruto and Naruto does not become Hokage
right.
because he gave up his like stupid like shit like that. If he had to give up, if somehow giving up his powers made him not become Hokage, like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's obviously it right now. So like, so we'll see obviously how it ends anime wise. They might add some spice to it,
Mm-hmm.
but I can see why people would be mad because you've been following the show for 10 years and you don't get the payoff.
The knowledge again, and this could be down the line. We don't know. I have a little bit of spoilers, but we in this sense, if you're watching the anime only and you haven't had it spoiled for you, I'm so happy for you because everybody essentially your dream is to be the next All Might. So by
Mhm.
extension, we want you to be a hero. We want you to get that dream and be the number one hero when the polls come out. Like be and right now from where we're sitting, yeah, it doesn't look like that's the case. Um so it's one of those things where it's like it's hard. It's hard. I understand why it might be dissatisfying for those reasons, but I don't think just because you don't get what you want in the ending doesn't make it a bad ending. Does that make sense? Like that's the part where I feel like people really need to divest themselves from what they want to happen versus what makes sense for the story, the morals, the values, um, and personalities of the actual characters. And Midoriya doesn't regret his decision in, transferring the quirk. It wouldn't have transferred if he didn't want it to. Again, which is a callback to the second movie. Um, but it's like it is bittersweet for us because we would have wanted him to have the whole cake, to have the cake and eat it too. Now it essentially seems like he had it in his grasp. He had the cake in front of him, and somebody just like flipped the table, ran the cake over because that's the way the story was written. But it's because of how he is, it makes sense that he's not bitter. He doesn't feel slighted. He doesn't feel cheated. His admiration for quirks is wow, there was a quirk that I was actually able to have as a quirkless kid, and I was able to do all of this good with it. I'm so glad I was able to. And so I guess for that reason, among others, like I don't feel like that's a bad thing. I understand how it can be dissatisfying. However, I don't I don't agree that that would make it quote unquote bad. Again, there's still more to come, so maybe there is something else that's happening that we don't know about that could make it like, yo, that makes no sense. So therefore bad. I think that's my line is if it doesn't make any sense whatsoever within the context of the story and the characters themselves, that's when it for me would be a quote unquote bad ending.
You see, I think people want him to be a hero, and obviously this show does not. Even though they're connected, they don't give a shit about vigilantes. You can't be a hero with no quirk.
So okay, so and here's the other thing though. I saw something that says um
The main
ah
character of vigilantes
yes,
is
I
there.
can't remember his name, but that he showed up, that he was on our screen. as the guy that was standing on the pole had the visor over his eyes, that was him.
Yeah, I
That he
saw
was.
that too. I'm gonna be like, all right, I'll wait till I see the second season for me to believe that shit.
Oh, but speaking of things that are mentioned like somewhere else that we don't specifically see, I also saw stuff, and somebody mentioned it to me, that we did see Shigaraki's original quirk. He used it.
What
You
was it?
remember how, he makes those like golden discs appear in the air and then he like launches himself forward?
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, that's his original quirk.
Like, is
All
this
for One kept it.
speculation or like
That's
real?
that's the part where I haven't been able to pinpoint if it's like added somewhere in the manga as like a, hint hint wink wink. Um but that is my guess, is that's where it is, because my friend who is an avid manga reader, um that's he mentioned that as fact, and he's not one to really speculate. I do still need to try to verify and find the page, just like I recently found the video of the specific manga panels and editions
Mm-hmm.
where they talk about the childhood best friend of Midoriya and Bakugo, the one with the wings, that he was turned into a Nomu. Like that specifically, there's an illustration in the manga from Horikoshi as like a hint of why
Gotcha.
that Nomu snatched Midoriya up out of the crowd, because that was, you know, with the wings, that
Yeah.
kid's consciousness. Yes. So like there's stuff like that always written in manga that can appear. So I haven't found where it specifically says, or haven't found anyone citing the source material to say why they're saying that's his original quirk. But to me, when that was brought up, I was like, damn, that makes sense. Because again, while quirks don't always have to match exactly what your parents have, it can mutate certain ways, or it can just be like similar. But his grandma floated, she could fly. If that really was his quirk, that quirk would allow him to fly and dart around the air. And so I was like, oh my God. Like to me, there was like that slight little like overlap and connection.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really sad. In one of the videos, I don't remember which content creators video was, but they made the comment about how, you know, Shigaraki's quirk, if that really was his quirk, that it was made for him to touch the sky, and it was taken away from him, and now he could no longer touch anyone or anything.
Wow.
It was like, shit.
We'll see. We'll figure that out.
Hopefully.
Andrea, anything else?
I don't want it to be over. I'm so, oh, I can't wait for these last few epilogue episodes, because I want to see how things shake out. I want to see more of the changes that are being made immediately. I want to, we haven't seen Uraraka, we haven't heard from her. Um,
Well, she's halfway in between the morgue and the hospital. When's
right.
the last time we saw her? Because she was literally on the plane, like
Yeah.
crying about the do your best thing. So
Yep. And it was, I mean, we didn't see her in the classroom, did we? No, we
she's
didn't.
probably still in probably fighting for her life still.
Yeah. So we need to circle back around to her. And I don't know what else. I'm trying to think of what else we need to like follow back up on. Of course, we need to know. I'm trying to think, because the Todoroki family's done. I guess in the next episode, do we have the flash forward, or do we have just more of what's going on now? And then the flash forward is just the final episode on the 13th.
The next episode talking about the girl who smiles, so that's probably gonna be Uraraka's episode.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So
Um, do we have a follow up with Ida? Ida, I did see somebody create a video of all the work that Ida has done to support Shoto over the seasons, and it's like, oh shoot, I really feel like he's a bit of an unsung hero in Todoroki's story as well. I know we talk about Midoriya, and as we should, as the main catalyst, but I think after the Stain fight, when their paths kind of crossed that way, um, they both really help to support each other in really important and subtle ways, which I wonder if we'll circle back around to Ida Hatsume, figure out what's going on there. Maybe we'll get actually, you know what it is? I think what we'll of course we'll touch it with Uraraka, but I think we will also round out what exactly is happening with, Gentle Criminal, La Brava, Lady Nagant, like what exactly is gonna happen for the quote unquote villains that turned good or did good deeds.
Well, I feel like La Brava and Gentle, I feel like they've already been pardoned because they were with the police people, like
That's
helping.
true.
Nagant was on her own, like because
That's
she shot
true.
it from afar.
Because that's right. Because he stayed behind and helped capture the other evacuee or like what would have been escapees, and so that helped
Him get
him come
pardoned,
forward.
probably.
And La
And he was
Brava
part of
was
the Do Your
already,
Best too. He was there
yeah,
at the main battlefield doing
yes,
his
he
little thing.
was. I actually wrote down each individual like help and step in order. After Aoyama, then it was Hagakure. That was a moment when I was like, oh fuck, what are they gonna do when he shot that giant laser beam at Midoriya? And then she's like, if it's a light beam, I got it covered. And she just,
Yeah, unfortunately, with that line, a little of the My Hero fandom took it way too far because they're like, oh, the signature dumb clickbait, rage bait thing. She could take a light beam, which means she could block a Kamehameha from Goku. I was like, that is too complete. Let's not do this. Let's not have the
that's a,
My Hero community get
isn't that,
shat on
wait,
this early.
wait, wait, wait. No, because
I know, but
but that's, what is it called? Is it ki? It's
yep,
spirit
Key.
energy. Yeah, like that's not light. That's different.
But that
That
was the
is so
first thing that
different.
came up, and I was just like, let's not do this. Let's keep riding. Let's
In our
keep riding
lane.
high. Yep, let's not do this. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but that was cool though. That was cool. I won't even
So
lie
yeah,
about that. So
that was super cool. And then just, I mean, everybody jumping in. Oh, I will say the team up I did not expect, but makes perfect sense. And I was when I saw it, I was like, that is so fucking cool. Was when Earjack and President Mike hooked up together to launch an attack at
yes,
All for One. That was so fucking sick. That was so cool. Oh,
yeah,
I love
no,
that.
that was really dope. The only thing I want to add is My Hero's gotten to the point where people are trying to review bomb it because that last episode, not this one,
Mm-hmm.
the final fight one, got a 9.9 on
Mm,
IMDb. So
yeah.
super, super, I mean, as high as you can go, but out of 10.
Yep.
And then the other one had a 9 this past one. So they're still on the streak of every episode in the final season having a rating of 9 or above. And there's been no anime in history that has gotten that for an entire, sure, their season's significantly shorter. So, but
I was
still,
gonna
there's been
is
no anime in history that's gotten a 9 on every episode.
I thought Attack on Titan had.
You have to look it
Maybe
up.
they're just really close.
That is what IMDb saying right now for their final season. Every ep a 9 or above.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, anything else?
Nope. And that is definitely correct because even in the last season, we had a few. Attack on Titan had a few like 8.5s, 8.6s. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's still good.
Um,
It's just a 9 every episode.
mhm.
Even your one that is just closing shit up. I don't expect these last two too because I feel like people are gonna be like, I don't know. I just feel people are gonna be weird about it. But the fact this Todoroki ep did the Dino, I was like, wow.
I to me that makes sense because again, the Todoroki storyline is such a beloved and like really captures everybody's attention, especially considering the range of feelings between, people being obsessed and loving Dobby's character, also with people like me that still don't like Endeavor. That's why when we talk about, oh, who's our favorite or least favorite in the Todoroki family, it's like definitely Endeavor for me. Like no, I don't care. I don't care. I can appreciate like not two things can be true. I can appreciate his growth. I can appreciate his, you know, willingness to atone for the things that he's done. But sorry, bro, I still don't like you. You did it and you've caused a lot of trauma. And because they forgive you, that's wonderful. I don't forgive you. I mean, that's just how I feel. And so yeah, definitely he's at the bottom for me. But again, Like that story is really compelling. And we've talked, I guess, till we're blue in the face about how all of that story, the implications on the real world. We did a whole case study on the Todoroki family when like all of that was first coming out. So it's definitely a very popular storyline, and love or hate how people react to it, how the characters are reacting to, everything at the end. It's just I wouldn't have expected this episode to be less than a 9, mostly because of that, honestly. To me, the episode I would have assumed was going to be lower than a 9 would have been the first episode, which is partially recap. And I will say, I agree with you. We'll see on these next two, especially if there is something we don't know about that really caused people to hate the ending of My Hero.
Mhm.
Because then at that point, whenever that information comes out, that'll probably be the episode that doesn't make it. But fingers crossed, it'll make it all the way across. Honestly, I think it's well deserved,
Yeah.
personally, so far.
No, no, that's really all that. With that being said, we'll ask now, Andrea, last thing, this ends on the 13th.
It does.
When is the recording? Do you want to do something literally the day after? Do you want to do a live show? Like, what do you want to do?
So I can't do a live show because of other conflicting
Mm.
plans, but I think um if you can, because obviously it's, football Sunday, doing something on the day after.
Well, that's what I meant, like the Sunday doing a live show.
Oh, got it. Doing it.
Or it's up your, or if you want to record this Sunday, it's up to you. Because it does end on the 13th, and
It does.
that'll be right before other episodes come down the pipeline in the month of December. Last Anime League episode, end of year podcast, so there's lots of
Mhm.
stuff on the
On the
horizon.
horizon for
So,
sure.
and then
I
you're gonna have to go into 2026, figuring out what you're gonna.
What
I
we're
mean,
gonna talk about.
Vigilantes will be back, so
Thank God.
but after Vigilantes, like, what are you gonna talk
I
about?
I do wonder how long that's gonna go. I know we know about season 2. I need to look up how many volumes of that manga exist, because depending on that, I feel like I could judge if it's gonna have a season 3 or not before it
Yeah,
even starts. But um
we'll figure it
mm,
out.
I will get back to you on that. We'll make that a, X announcement. Only because there's other considerations for live versus recorded on a
No,
Sunday.
that's fine.
So yeah, I'll have to get back to you. But I am pretty interested in the idea of doing a live episode, because we haven't done one for My Hero, I don't believe.
No, I haven't.
Actually, I will pose this question to you. With it being the last one, do we want to invite the others, Byron, Cedric, um,
Well, I'll tell you right now, most of them haven't even
Nikki?
watched the stuff. Byron doesn't watch them until I send him a recording, so he doesn't get spoiled.
What? Wait.
But so he waits which will be sent tonight. Like, hey, my Europod ready to edit, and then he'll catch up on the episodes, and then he'll be like, all right.
Oh, okay. Got you. Got you. Got you. I
Mm-hmm.
thought you were meaning that he does the editing for the episodes to not before he watches. Like that is entirely
Mm-mm.
spoiler. What do you mean?
No.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, that makes me a little sad, but
Yeah,
maybe that'll be one of the first quote unquote. It wouldn't be a case study, but essentially get everybody's reactions to the end once they have it. Because I think that would be interesting, especially if anybody in the group really does despise the ending.
yeah. Well, the thing, people watch animes at different pace, and if they don't have to
Mhm.
talk about it on a pod consistently, then it's like
For real, because
they
if
can
I
just,
didn't do this,
yeah,
I would
you
wait
get.
till it was all out and binge it in
That's
an evening.
probably, and that's what they're doing. So,
Oh,
especially if
yeah.
they watch other stuff. But with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Again, this is the second to last episode on the My Hero Academia anime, like the original anime. The last episode will be coming in a couple of weeks, and we will see you then. With that being said, take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.